Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Rainmaker's Roundup. I'm your host, Mark Iorio. It's great to have you with us today. I can't believe this, man. My good friend Randy Lumia, who I sat on the foundation board with at the College of New Jersey, is on with us today. Randy is the Vice President of Culture, People, and Effectiveness, Organizational Effectiveness, at a company called Avatar Airlines. Wait till you hear about this. Randy, welcome. Great to have you, buddy.
Good morning, Mark. It's wonderful to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, man. I always open it up with, tell us a little bit about Avatar Airlines. But, man, when you and I talked about this the other day, I told my wife what was going on. Do I have to, is this kind of confidential, or can I just tell her everything?
Go for it.
Go for it. All right. So, yeah, man, this is a great startup. Randy's in Florida. And, man, what a great business model. It's completely different. It looks like it's going to set the airline industry on its ear. And, man, I was excited. I mean, I know you are because, of what you're doing with this organization. But let's hear about it, man. This is cool.
I tell you what, Mark, this has been a whirlwind for me. Typically I'm from out of the industry, the airline industry. Yep. My background is 30 plus years in life sciences and medical device, pharmaceuticals, etc. Highly regulated. So in terms of the assimilation into the airline industry, yep, very highly regulated. So there's that piece of it. But let me tell you, this has been really exciting. You may have heard of a small airline some years ago called Southwest.
Oh, yeah.
Many people would, back when they first started said, hey, you guys are crazy. You're nuts. I mean, there's actually a book written about the whole situation called Nuts. And they thought they were crazy for how they were going to approach their business model, how they were going to run their business. And while Southwest is not exactly our business model, we draw a lot of similarities in terms of people are telling us, you're absolutely crazy, you're nuts. And we're going to be a very different airline.
Well, it's funny. You're going to have to describe for the viewers what this is about. But I didn't realize until I spoke to you the other day that 747s don't fly anymore, right? They're not in service.
Yeah, our business model is such that we would use the iconic Boeing 747 for both passenger and cargo.
Right.
And with the whole pandemic situation and the reduction in passenger miles, et cetera, many of the traditional passenger airlines have either decided to mothball their 747s or to prematurely retire them.
Yeah.
The most recent one was British Airways.
Okay.
So a lot of them are no longer doing it because of their supposed inefficiency. They have 4 engines that are gas guzzlers.
Okay.
You can compare that to some of the newer engines, newer airlines airplanes, that have two jets. A lot less cost-wise in terms of the fuel. But
yep, we
look at the use of a 747 as a different model. We anticipate using, and our plan is to not only have passenger, but to load it up with cargo. Now, 747s are still flying, but many of them are cargo.
Okay.
They're very good for cargo. They hold a ton of cargo, and they're very profitable.
Yep.
And the cargo industry in terms of airlines is booming right now. So
sure,
many existing airlines are trying to find a way to use their current fleet to actually fly cargo and keep themselves flying and more solvent than they are. I mean, a lot of the industry right now is hurting. They're financially strapped, and they're looking for all kind of ways to survive.
Yeah. So it's almost like it's kind of weird. When I was telling Patty this the other day, my wife, we're driving in the car, we were heading somewhere. I said, man, she said, who are you interviewing on Wednesday on the show? And I said, Randy Lumia, old buddy of mine from, we're on the foundation board together at TCNJ. Well, what's it about? I said, it's about Avatar Airlines. And I told her about the business model. She looks at me, Randy, and she says, oh, that's just a combination of Southwest and FedEx. I'm like, wow, that is one way to describe it. That's very cool, because what you're saying here is, I think you're offsetting the cost of a passenger ticket by having, you know, cargo on the plane. That's unbelievable.
That's exactly right. And there's also other things that we're considering. And you and I had this conversation, Mark. And, you know, when we talk about our revenue streams at Avatar, one of the ways that we intend to make money is through advertising.
Yeah.
And you know, we are looking at potentially wrapping the planes. If a vendor or a company wants to wrap the plane, they're more than welcome to do so.
Sure.
We're looking at advertising in the overhead bins, on the overhead bin cabinets, on the tray backs, on the seat backs.
Right.
Hell, even the toilets and the bathrooms and the flight attendant uniforms. So there is no potential resistance for where we're going to look for revenue.
Yeah. I mean, you think about it, you look at Spirit Airlines, or you look at Southwest or whatever, and they wrap their planes, but you're going to go out and look at advertisers that, you know, it's a flying billboard. You're on the jetway, you've got the biggest jet out there, the 747, and, you know, now you've got a captive audience inside the plane for probably a couple of hours, I would imagine, at least. You know, if you're flying from Florida to New York, or Florida to California, or wherever you're going to go, and you've got this captive audience, it's really cool. But you're also doing other things, right, to generate revenue.
Exactly. I mean, you're exactly right on the captive audience. You know, our model is such that we're not going to be flying short routes. They're going to be long routes. We have a 3-year plan that shows what those routes are actually on our website. But you're right, New York to Florida, Florida to Vegas, or to the West Coast, you have a captive audience for 3 or more hours.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're looking at other things as well. Once you're in the cabin, as potentially revenue generating, or we'll call it marketing generating. I'll give you another example. There are many companies that pay to have their samples or their products distributed for free to the potential audience that they're looking at for you know, new customers.
Right.
We're talking about maybe providing those samples to passengers when they get off the plane. Now, you know, our model is such that we are going to be a high volume, low cost airline with no hidden fees.
Right.
So there's that piece of it. But then can you imagine, in addition to the low price, every time you get off this plane, you're going to have a little goodie bag that's for free, that could be from any one of you name them, any of the consumer products or any other type of retail business. We give things away, and people can try things, and they go away with a free goodie bag.
It's brilliant. I mean, it's brilliant. It's innovative. It's different. And as you and I talked about, you know, being in life sciences for 30 years plus, you know, you're kind of hamstrung on what you can and cannot do. You can't give away free anything anymore. You can't give away a pen to a doctor because the FDA thinks it's influential in terms of, you know, what you can do. But in the airline industry, you know, you've got a CEO and a staff there, Randy, that is incredibly innovative. And you said it, you know, you have these meetings, and it's really a brainstorming session a lot of times as to, you know, what other revenue opportunities might there be. You
know, let me give you a couple of other examples. Our CEO, Barry Michaels, very creative guy. He is the entrepreneur. He's the brainchild behind the idea. Yep. He really encourages out-of-the-box thinking. Yeah. So, you know, there's nothing that is off limits in terms of discussing. And the other ironic thing is our company is virtual. Every one of us meets via platforms like Zoom because we don't operate from a physical location yet. Now, we have plans to build a headquarters in the Florida area, exact location TBD. But right now we're virtual, so we have people from San Diego to Massachusetts to down here in South Florida that are all part of the management team, and you know, it really fosters some very creative discussions via Zoom when you're kind of forced to use that very finite time that you have together to really think outside of the box. So it's really been really fun, really exciting, and I can't wait to see where this thing goes.
Oh my God! You know, for forever, the airline industry has done the same damn thing over and over and over and over again. And you know, here's a tweak: we're not gonna serve food anymore. We're not gonna serve drinks anymore. We're gonna charge you for baggage. You know, we're going to do what? I mean, whatever. And they're the big innovative changes that they've made, other than, say, you're right, Southwest or JetBlue or Spirit, you know, some of the low cost, no frills kind of airlines. But now you introduce someone like Avatar Airlines to the industry, and you guys have completely, you know, turned the paradigm, in a sense, upside down.
Well, you know, Southwest did the same thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're essentially looking at doing that very same thing in different areas and different venues.
Right.
We are going to be different. And, you know, it starts with the hiring of people. You know, we're looking at a culture that's going to be incredibly inclusive and that's going to be diverse.
Yep.
And I'm not only talking diverse in terms of, you know, traditional race or creed, color, etc.
Yeah.
I'm talking about where people came from and what they did and how they've been successful. And we've been actually very successful in getting a number of executives on board to help us with this thing, which is really fun.
Where did the name come from? Where did Avatar Airlines come up with this great?
You know, it's a very good question, and nobody really seems to remember. It was a brainchild of a former marketing person some time ago, but you know, it probably means more now than it ever did before. When you think about what avatars are, they're basically bigger than life kind of memes, if you will.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about the 747, we're talking about, you know, the queen of the skies, which is becoming, you know, more and more of an anomaly to see, and to see these things kind of regenerated and to take on this bigger than life kind of, you know, signal here. It really is appropriate.
Yeah, it is. It's, as I said to you the other day, it's almost like this, you know, this virtual, you know, thing that's out there. But when you see a 747, you cannot help but be very impressed with the size and the mass of an airplane like that. It's
they are. I mean, they are huge, and of course, they've been around for over 50 years.
Yeah.
And you know, it was a very successful plane early on for Boeing.
Yeah.
You know, they have essentially switched from becoming a passenger aircraft to more of a cargo aircraft.
Yeah.
But we firmly believe that there's still an opportunity to make money via different revenue streams using the same old iconic vehicle. Now, will we use this, you know, forever? I don't know. You know,
who knows?
It remains to be seen. But if you look at the availability of 747s right now, they're pretty cheap. I mean, you can get used 747s for $5,000 to $9,000. Excuse me, $5 to $9 million.
I'll take a couple.
I know. And you have to spend probably another 15 or so million into it to get them to fully operational, because many of them have engines that need to be replaced because of the hours, etc. But for $20 million, you could be flying, you know, essentially a plane that can drive you revenue.
Absolutely. We're going to have to take a quick break, commercial break, Randy. As soon as we come back, we're going to continue to talk about Avatar Airlines and what the plans are, what the launch dates are, etc. This is great, man. This is fascinating. I love this innovation in the airline industry. We will be right back after a message from our sponsors.
Go, Richard. Oh, is that too hard for you?
No. Is it too hard for you?
Woo! We're playing catch now. Oh, shit.
What do I want to be when I grow up? Maybe a musician? A veterinarian? Maybe an equestrian? A mommy? Well, why not be all these things and more? Consider joining me, Dr. V, with friends and colleagues as we explore a wide range of topics together. V is for variety, here on RVN TV.
Number 7. Number 8.
9 regular. Oh, wait, 13 giant. The usual?
Of course. Number 1.
Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Welcome back to Rainmaker's Roundup. I'm your host, Mark Iorio, and with me today is Randy Lumia. Randy is the Vice President of Culture, People, and Organizational Effectiveness at a startup airline called Avatar Airlines. They're virtual. I guess a number of your executives, Randy, are probably down in Florida, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So you're up here for years. You grew up in New Jersey. You went to college up here. We sat on the board of the foundation board at TCNJ for many years. You end up getting a job offer to Florida. You and your wife decide to move down there, right?
Yep.
And then what happened?
Well, I came down to take an opportunity for a company that was looking to divest part of the business, and I was going to be going with that business.
Yep.
Well, the business deal fell apart, and hence my opportunity fell apart. So I went back to my consulting business, where my wife and I had and still have a consulting business,
Yep.
Management consulting, where we provide help and assistance to small, mid-sized companies, as well as executive coaching and such.
Yep. So you end up the business opportunity falls apart. How do you land at Avatar? What happened there?
And I'm sure, Mark, you probably talked to many guests who have talked about the influence and positivity of things like networking and use of social media such as LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Well, the bottom line was I had gotten some kind of a lead from a friend of mine who said, you might want to consider Avatar Airlines. And I was like, what are they looking for? He said, just talk to them. So how this happened, I don't know, but I was a first level connection on LinkedIn with the CEO, Barry Michaels.
Okay.
And I reached out to him and I said, a little birdie told me you might be looking for some help. So we talked and figured out what might make sense. And here I am. And it's been a blast ever since.
Wow. So tell us a little bit. I mean, you can go to the website, avatarairlines.com, and get all this information. But why don't you tell us what the plans are here in terms of financial raise, money raise, going out for investment, and then the game plan, Randy, to eventually get to launch, which I think is sometime next year.
Yeah, we have two primary goals. One is to attract investor funding, and I'll tell more about that in a second.
Yep.
And the second is to get DOT and FAA certification, which is required before you can fly.
Yeah.
And the two are not mutually exclusive, but they're very similar in terms of the timing and activities necessary. So we are working right now. We have a preferred placement memorandum that is looking to identify high wealth individuals that are willing to invest in our company. We are very much looking forward to being the only airline company, I should say, that will be debt free when we start to fly.
That's amazing.
We made a conscious decision to not take on debt to get the business running. We're looking for high wealth individuals that are willing to invest in the business so that we can get the funding necessary to purchase planes and do everything necessary to run the airline.
Yep.
Our plan and our hope is that between the investor funding as well as FAA certification, that we'll have planes in the sky within 12 to 16 months. That's our goal and our expectation.
Wow. What's the goal on the money raise? At least the first round. What are you looking to raise?
Yeah, and this is all on the website as well, but we're looking to achieve about $7.5 million on our first level of funding.
Right.
That gets us to a kind of a starting point. And then the second level is $300 million in terms of the investment. And we're looking at a potential third round later on, but right now we have those two that are out there identified publicly.
So 7.5 up front, so that's round one. Secondary round will be about 300 million. And obviously what happens between round one and round two is the stock price changes, the private stock price changes.
Correct.
From one round to another. How about use of funds in terms of what you're trying to do? And you mentioned this earlier. I didn't realize that you can actually buy a 747 for $5 to $7 million, $5 to $9 million or whatever. It's got to be refurbished. The engines, the 4 engines that you're talking about, they're obviously the newer ones are much more fuel efficient, right? And you're just as. Go ahead.
I was going to say that they are. The 747, there's a number of different manufacturers that produce the engine. There's Rolls-Royce in the EU.
Yep.
So many of the 747s, like the ones that BA, British Airways just announced retiring, they come with the Rolls-Royce engine. So those parts are a little bit more difficult to come by here in the U.S. And then there's the 747s in the U.S. that have, many of them have Pratt & Whitney engines or GE engines where parts are a little bit more readily available, at least here in the U.S.
Okay. Yeah, so going through and refurbishing an airplane like that is probably anywhere from 15 to 18, 20 million bucks. So you've got pretty much a brand new airplane. What would that take? 6 to 8 months to refurbish? 9 months to refurbish?
That's actually a very good question, and you're pretty close. And again, it depends upon where we get the aircraft from. If it's going to be from the EU, or that we have to rely on parts that are perhaps a little bit more difficult to get, it can take a little bit longer. If it's here in the U.S., it might be a little bit. You're probably right smack dab in line with what we're looking at.
Yeah. So those 2 raises get you guys operational, and then you obviously have to go through the federal government, the Department of Transportation, and the FAA. How's that process been for Avatar Airlines, Randy? Take us through a little bit of that.
We actually had what's called an in-briefing meeting with the FAA about a month ago.
Okay.
Where it's essentially the start of the discussions around the application, what's going to be formally required, where are we at against those things, et cetera. It takes a lot of time. It's I'll use the analogy of the drug business and the manufacturing of pharmaceutical products.
Sure.
You have to show along the way that you're safe and effective. The same thing goes with flying an airline. You have to show you have the processes in place, that you have the safety procedures in place, the maintenance procedures in place. So there's a lot of documentation, manuals, et cetera, that need to be done and completed and showed to the FAA for approval.
So you said earlier that the business is virtual. You've got people all over the United States. I'm assuming that you've got a lot of people from the airline industry who are working for Avatar Airlines right now and have gone through those processes, right? Tell us a little bit about the diverse group of people that you have working for you right now.
I mean, we actually have people that are currently employed in various parts of airline industries, and we're not looking at a conflict of interest here. We're not looking at stealing or taking proprietary information. We're talking about people that might be providing certain tertiary help to an airline that they might be of use to us, and they're basically working at nights or on weekends and helping us in that regard. So we have a very healthy mixture of both airline experience as well as non-airline experience, which really helps us to get a bigger picture of what it is we're looking at.
Can you picture sitting in an Avatar airline plane, a 747, say 18 months from now? It's got maybe a Coca-Cola banner on the side of the airplane, and you get to your seat, and there's some other advertising for Apple Computer in front of you, and maybe an advertisement on the back of your tray table for General Electric, and you walk off the plane and you get this little bag of goodies, and it's just a great experience. Randy, I can't wait. I'm actually very happy for you, but I'm really envious that I'm not in this business with you, man, because it seems like, oh God, it seems like
we're looking to take this thing public, hopefully in 3 to 5 years, and it's my opinion, and I've told people this before. I don't know if we're ever going to make it to that point, because I think that once we start flying, there's going to be some very interested parties coming in to look at us and scoop it up.
Absolutely agree with you. Yeah. Listen, we've known each other a long time. You've done a lot of great things in business, mostly in the human resource industry. Over the years, thinking back to your days in college and growing up in New Jersey, where do you find inspiration? Where is the inspiration for Randy Lumia coming from?
When you asked me that the other day and you told me to think about it, I had to think about it, because I had a name that jumped right to my head, and then I thought more about it. Now, as you know, Mark, my undergraduate degree is in engineering. My graduate degree is in HR.
Yeah.
So I'm always torn between the technical and the strategic side of the business aspect. There is a guy, you may have heard of him, Richard Branson.
Oh, yeah.
Happens to be from the airline industry. But I've always been enamored by his approach to business and life. And, from a business perspective, he says, take care of your people and the rest will take care of itself.
Absolutely. I
am a real big believer in that philosophy. I think it goes a long way, both in life as well as in business. Absolutely. And so that's going to be my answer. Good.
I love it. I love that answer. And listen, I have loved having you on this show, man. This has been a blast. I'm so glad you reached out. I'm so glad that you and Susan are having a successful time in Florida. Good luck with Avatar. Tell us how to get in touch with you. And if anyone is interested in, if you're a qualified investor, you need to be. You can follow up with Randy, but go ahead and tell us how to get in touch with you, Randy.
Yeah, there's actually a couple different ways, but if you do go to our website, there's actually an investor tab where you can actually submit a request for information on there, and I will actually get that information, as well as our CEO and some others.
Cool.
So that's clearly the best way. We also have on our website available positions that people might be interested in, and
all right.
As you can well guess, startup airlines, we need people. And, unfortunately in the airline industry, a lot of people are looking for jobs right now. So we'll have a lot of opportunities for people.
Great. All right, my friend, thank you so much for joining me on Rainmaker's Roundup, Randy. Best of luck with Avatar. Thanks very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for us right here on RVN TV. Have a wonderful and safe week, everyone. We'll see you next week.